So today we're going to take a look at how to work with photos and images on the website. We're currently on a test page that I set up so we can play freely, and we are also currently already logged in, which we can tell by the toolbar visible across the top that normal site visitors don't see. So when you're on the page that you want to make changes to, you're just going to hit Edit with Elementor to go into the editing view for that page. Alright, so that's going to load up. The first thing we're going to look at is common use where you've got some text. So I'm going to drag a text editor box over here, widget, and it's throwing some example text in there. And we want to insert an image into the text area, and we'll have the text wrap around, say the left or the right side. So the first thing you want to do is have your cursor over here in the left edit box. You want to have your cursor where you want that image to line up at. A lot of times you're just going to put it up at the top, or maybe you've got a paragraph down below that you've got an image that's related to that paragraph. So maybe you put it right before that paragraph. But mostly you're looking at how high or low in the text you want the top of your image to be. So you get your cursor in place, and then we're going to go up here to the Add Media button. So that opens this Add Media window, and we've got two tabs up here. The Media Library is going to show you images that have already been uploaded to the website and used on other pages, or they're just in the media library. Or you can click on upload files to load a new photo that's not already on the website. So in that case, you can drag and drop from a File Explorer window over this area and it'll upload it, or you can click on this Select Files and it's going to pop up that. And so we can come down and take a look and find the image that we want to load. So you'll select it and hit open, and that's going to upload that photo. Now in this case, we can see it's uploading the file. I've actually got this file on here twice. If you find that you've accidentally loaded an image file twice, or you've just got an image that you know it's not used anywhere on the website anymore, while you're highlighted on it, you can come over here to the right side, and there's a Delete Permanently button here that we can click on and take that out. So we've gotten rid of our extra copy, and we're going to select, make sure we've got our check mark on the picture that we want to insert. And you've got some options over here at the right you can play with before you insert. We can also change those things after we insert, and I usually just do it after. So let's go ahead and insert. So we can see here our image is inserted. It's aligned over to the right side, and our text is wrapped around. It's off to the left of it there. In our editing box on the left, we can come down here and click on that picture. It gives us some quick buttons here where we can tell it to align to the left, or we can tell it to center, or align right. There's also a no alignment, and that's going to basically not allow the text to wrap around it while still putting the picture in with the text. So, but if you've got a left or right alignment, you can see the text is wrapped around. It's allowed to be alongside the picture. You can also click on the edit pencil here, and that's going to take you into kind of some more detailed options. You still can play with your left, right, center, or none alignment. You can also tell it what size you want it to be. Thumbnail is always going to be square, 150 by 150, so it kind of clips off a little bit of the picture. Medium, large. Say you want it to be real small like the 150, but you don't want it to clip. You can do a custom size and tell it to be 150, and it's going to automatically fill in that other value to be accurate to the dimensions of the picture. We can also play with having the picture link to someplace. None is just a normal picture. You can click on it, doesn't do anything. If we set that to link to the media file, that is going to let somebody click on the picture on the page, and it's going to open that picture up in kind of a pop-up window and let them see that picture real big, and then they can click back out to go back to the page. If we do the attachment page, most of the time you're not going to want to use that. It kind of takes it to a page that just has information about that picture. I don't foresee that being useful in this case. But the custom URL option is a really interesting one. So in that case, you can use a link to another page on one of the Snake River sites, or another website entirely. So this is my robot mower in this picture, sitting in its charging dock. And so we could say, well, we want to have that link to the Yay Technology website. And so we can put the link in there for that. And now whenever somebody clicks on that picture, it would take them to that site. And we can see over here, as we go over the picture, it gives the different icon showing that it's a clickable picture. So that's the basics on how to work with an image within the text editor widget box, mixed in with the text. That works pretty well. Sometimes it gets a little fiddly. Let's look at another approach to this. We're just going to delete that out. So let's say we want our picture to be off to the right of our text, but we kind of want to manage our proportions a little bit better. We're going to play with using this intersection widget, which I wish they would have named columns, because that's really what it is. It lets you work with columns. So we're going to drag and drop that in here, and now you can see we've got these two column boxes here. And now we can go back here, we can click on our little waffle button to get our widgets back, and we can throw our text in over here to the left and hit our waffle to go back again, and we can grab an image widget and throw it over here to the right. So now over here on the left, we've got all of our image widget options, and we can click on our little gray hill placeholder image and go in and choose the image that we actually want to use. Let's give a click on this guy here, Laren. So we're going to insert his picture. So we can see here we're in line with the text. Now what we can do with these columns is we can actually specifically change the proportions. If we hover right between those two columns, you can see we get this two arrow icon, and if we click and drag, then we can choose our proportions, and it's telling you the percentages there halfway down the picture. And so let's aim for 30%, 70% on that. And it takes a steady hand to get it exactly right, but most of the time you don't have to get it exactly right. You're just going for a general good look. So we can see here now we've got a big picture with lots of room for text alongside. And we can work with that. But let's look at some more options with this picture widget. So with any of these widgets, give a click on that little pencil, or a lot of times just right in the middle of the widget area, to get this area on the left to pop up with your options. So right now we've already clicked here and chose our image. Right below that we have an image size option. We're currently set to large, and this particular image is 1024 by 1024. It's actually constraining that size. 1,000 pixels would be crossing most of the page if it were truly full size, but our columns are constraining that and keeping it in proportion. But if we click on this, we can drop that down. We can make it a thumbnail. We can make it medium size. We can work with what we want that to be. We can do a custom size and punch in whatever we want that to be. And so you can really fine tune your size on that. You can play with your alignment here, put to the left, center, right. You can throw a caption in. The attachment caption is kind of if you go into the media library settings, which if we click on the picture, we can see it here. So the caption is right here. Let's just copy his name over into that. So now it has put the attachment caption down there. We can also do a custom caption and just type in whatever we want there. So you can set that up in different ways. And it's ending up putting the caption in the middle of the widget area. That's why that's not centered underneath him. We can also play with the link to, and it's the same thing as before. If you set to the media file, you can click on the picture. It's going to pop that up big, and they can hit this X up here to close back out of that and go back to the page. We could also set a custom URL and have it linked to a website or web page that we want. You can also go in and play with some little bit deeper settings here under the style and advanced tabs. So you can play with the width and the height. Kind of just a different way to approach the same thing we saw playing with the size. Opacity is kind of a see-through property, and most of the time that's not going to be real useful, but if you get creative enough and dig deep enough, you might find use for that. But this hover property is pretty interesting. So if we go into the hover properties, that is going to affect what happens when we put our mouse over that picture. And so we could put that opacity, that see-through property, on the hover, and now as soon as we put our mouse over it, it changes the look and makes it kind of see-through, which is kind of a responsive thing. But another approach we could take to that is we could come down here to the hover animation feature, and we can play with some of these. So let's try a pulse. So now when we hover over it, the picture starts pulsing and you can see that it's interactive. Kind of a fun effect. If you overuse it, it might get a little cheesy, so use it sparingly, but it's a great effect when you use it in a classy way. So, and there's just all sorts of effects down in here. So those are kind of fun to play with. You can play with a border on your picture. So let's throw a double border on there. Kind of hard to see there, but if we set that width up to be bigger, now we can see it's a little stronger border on there. You can also throw a radius on there. You can play with the color of that border. Make it a red border here. And throw a radius on there. Give it some rounded edges. And it really kind of classes up the look of the picture. You can play with some of the colors and things on that caption as well. Try to make it stand out a little bit better. It's obviously kind of getting overlapped with that border right now, so you could play with some of those settings, try and make it stand out. And there's some more things here in the advanced section that you can play with. And that's really the key with some of this, is just take some time to play. It's the best way to learn what your options are, what things look like, what you can make work. But that's kind of the basics on that image box. But let's hit our waffle here and look at some more options, because there's all sorts of things in here. Another great option that is good to know about is the gallery. So we're going to drag and drop a gallery in here. And so the first thing we're going to want to do probably on the gallery is click over here where it says no images selected. And a gallery is meant to be multiple pictures. So we're going to go through and we're going to select a number of different pictures here. And we're going to go down here to the lower right and create a new gallery. So now that's showing us all the pictures we selected. In this window, we can change the order of those pictures. Just drag and drop them around. And when you're happy with the order, then we're going to hit Insert Gallery down in the lower right. So now we've got our gallery in here, and you can see that it's set it up in equally sized pictures, nicely arranged, easy to browse through, looks good. The current settings do clip the picture. We can see our smiling guy up here. He's lost his chin in this view. So we could come over here and play with the layout, which we're currently on grid. Makes it a nice consistent grid. But we can play with justified or masonry, and we'll get a little bit different effect. So this is not clipping off any of the picture, but it's still lining it up, making them a consistent height in this case. So we can see still orderly, still attractive, no clipping. If we play with our masonry, it's going to make them a consistent width, but they're different heights depending on what the dimensions of the pictures are. So you get just a little bit different effect with different options there. We can play with how many columns they're in, so we can narrow that down to 2 columns. We get really big pictures. We can bump that up, make it fit a little bit shorter space. You can play with your spacing between the pictures. You can see we've currently got a little bit of a gap there. We can crank that way up, and they get a little more spaced out, or way down, and they butt right up against each other. And again, you can play with linking it to the medium file or custom URL. You can play with your image size and just all sorts of options through here. So once again, go in and play. You're going to learn you can do all sorts of stuff with these. Let's take a look at one more thing that I think a lot of you will be interested in, and that is a slideshow, an image carousel is what they call it. We're going to throw an image carousel in here. And so this is going to work kind of like the gallery in our setup, because we need to click up here and select a number of images. And then we're going to create a new gallery. And again, we can drag and drop and change the order on these. And then we're going to insert that gallery. And so now we've got our image carousel here. Right now it's showing 3 images. It's a little faint, but there's a little arrow here we can shuffle through. And we can change our image size. Bump those up. We can change how many slides are shown. So if we want just 1 slide at a time, you can change that to 1. You're going to get 1 at a time. So you can play with that setting. You can have it scroll several images at a time, or just 1 at a time. You can tell it to stretch the image, set up what you want your navigation to be, link to something, all those different things. So there's a lot of great options in there, and that's going to be a super useful tool for a lot of your pages. Another useful one that we came across is the image box. So let's throw that in here. So what this is it's basically an image with a heading and information paired with it. And so again, we can come over here and click on that little gray pill and choose our one image, insert that, and then we can play with the heading, and you can make it link. When you put a link in there, then it's going to make the heading and the image both linkable, clickable. You can play with your image position if you want to have that off to the side and the information about it to one side or the other. So that's some of the basics on how to work with images in here. Let me know if you end up with any questions, and hopefully we can get some more tutorials that answer deeper questions as we go.